All right, today we're going to travel way back in time. I mean, way back, to meet a thinker who didn't just look up at the stars, he completely invented a new way of seeing the entire universe. His name was Anaximander of Miletus. Now, he was the student of Thales, who's known as the very first philosopher. But as you're about to see, Anaximander took his teacher's ideas and launched them into a whole new cosmos. To really get what makes Anaximander so special, you've got to put yourself in his world. I mean, imagine this. The sky is a solid dome over your head. The Earth, it's a flat disk held up on giant pillars, or maybe it's floating on a huge ocean. Every single thing that happens, a thunderstorm, a solar eclipse, it's all the work of moody, unpredictable gods. And into that world, Anaximander steps up and asks for a totally different kind of answer, a natural one. You see, Anaximander and the other thinkers in his hometown, the bustling Greek city of Miletus, were on this incredible revolutionary quest. They were looking for something they called the arche. It's a Greek word, and it means the first principle. They were convinced that underneath all the chaos and variety of the world, there had to be one single, underlying, natural thing that explained everything. They were basically looking for the universe's ultimate source code.
Now, Anaximander's teacher, the great Thales, he had a theory. He suggested that this arche, this source of everything, was water. And you know what? It's a pretty good first try. I mean, think about it. Water is something we can all see changing its state, right? It's a liquid, but you freeze it, it becomes solid ice. You boil it, it turns into a gas, into steam. It seemed like it had the power to become everything.
But this is the exact moment where the student steps out of the master's shadow. Anaximander, he respected his teacher, but he saw a huge, logical problem with the whole water theory. He realized that the ultimate source of everything, well, it couldn't be just one of the things it was supposed to explain. Anaximander's logic here was just so powerful. He looked around the world and saw this dynamic balance of opposites. You've got hot fighting against cold and wet against dry. So he argued if the arche, this infinite eternal source, was one of these specific things, like water, which is wet and cold, well, it would have completely wiped out its opposite, fire, ages ago. The entire universe would be nothing but water, but it isn't. So the source has to be something else. Anaximander's solution to this was a breathtaking leap into the abstract. He figured that the first principle, the arche, couldn't be any of the elements we can see or touch. It had to be something beyond our senses, a principle that could create all the opposites without actually being one of them. And he gave it a name, the apeiron. The apeiron, the word literally means the unlimited, the boundless, or the indefinite. This wasn't just another substance. This was a metaphysical concept. It's this eternal, never-ending, totally neutral reservoir from which all the specific things in our world, hot, cold, earth, air, fire, water, all of it comes from the apeiron, and eventually all of it has to go back. This is a massive shift from a physical explanation to a truly philosophical one. And he didn't just make this up. He defended the idea with pure, beautiful reason. First, he said the arche has to be eternal, because if it came from something else, then that something else would be the real principle. Second, it had to be neutral, like we just talked about, to keep that balance of opposites. And third, it had to be inexhaustible, because this endless cycle of things being born and dying needs an infinite source to keep it going.
This right here, this is it. This is the only direct sentence we have left from Anaximander's lost book, and wow, it is deep. He describes the entire cycle of existence using the language of law. So what's he mean by injustice? Well, he's saying that for any one thing to even exist, a rock, a person, a fire, it has to separate itself from that infinite whole, the apeiron, and that creates a kind of imbalance. This separate existence is a temporary injustice, and time, he says, is like the judge that makes sure every injustice is paid back, as everything eventually dissolves back into the apeiron, restoring the balance. It's beautiful.
Okay, so if the apeiron was his philosophical bombshell, what he did next was a scientific revolution. He completely tore down the old model of the cosmos and replaced it with something totally radical and brand new.
Just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got that old mythical view, a closed, cozy little universe with the Earth stuck at the bottom. But on the right, that's Anaximander's vision, an open, infinite universe. The sun and stars don't just vanish at night. They travel in full circles, going under the Earth. And this is the most mind-blowing part of all, the Earth itself doesn't need any support.
This was the great puzzle of his time. If the Earth isn't sitting on an ocean or giant pillars, what's holding it up? Why doesn't it just fall? His answer is pure genius.
Just think about that for a second. The Earth stays put because it's at the exact center of the cosmos. Since it's the same distance from everything else, there's no reason for it to move up, down, left, or right. It's held in place by perfect balance, by symmetry. In one brilliant thought, Anaximander replaced gods and pillars with a physical principle. This is arguably the first truly scientific explanation in human history. And he didn't stop there. He built out a whole model. He imagined the Earth as a short, squat cylinder, kind of like a drum, and we all live on one of the flat ends. The sun, moon, and stars, they weren't just little lights in the sky. He thought they were huge wheels or rings of fire, surrounded by mist, and the little lights we see are just holes in that mist, letting the fire shine through. Eclipses? Oh, that's just the holes closing up for a bit. He even got their distances right. Stars are closest, then the moon, and then the sun. It was the first complete mechanical model of the entire universe.
So, as if completely reinventing metaphysics and cosmology wasn't enough for one lifetime, Anaximander then turned his incredible mind to life itself, and he proposed another shocking idea, a purely natural origin for all living things, including us.
He basically laid out this theory that life first started in the wet, muddy parts of the early Earth, inside these spiny, bark-like shells. The very first creatures were like fish. Over time, some of them moved onto dry land, their shells cracked open, and they adapted to a new way of life. And he specifically argued that humans had to have come from some other kind of animal. Why? Because human babies are so helpless, there's no way they could have survived on their own in that primitive world. Now, this isn't Darwin, of course, but for 2,600 years ago, that is an astonishing piece of natural, proto-evolutionary thinking that just completely kicks the gods out of the story of creation. So when you put it all together, what is Anaxamander's ultimate legacy? Well, it's just immense. He wasn't just some ancient wise man. He was arguably the first person to think about the world with a mindset that we would recognize today as both scientific and philosophical. I mean, just check out this list of firsts. He wrote the first known philosophical book. He drew the first map of the world. He introduced new astronomical tools to Greece. He gave us the very first model of the cosmos based on physics, not on myths. And he was the first to argue that the foundation of all reality was an abstract, invisible principle. And here's what's truly mind-blowing. His ideas echo so clearly in modern science. This idea of the universe coming from some undifferentiated, boundless state and eventually returning to it, it sounds an awful lot like the Big Bang and the theoretical Big Crunch. And his idea that the eternal motion of the Aperon could create not just our world, but countless other worlds, that's a wild precursor to the modern concept of the multiverse. And this brings us to one last thought. Over 2,600 years ago, Anaximander started this quest to find a single principle, the arche, that could explain all of reality. Today, our physicists are searching for a grand unified theory, a theory of everything. So, in a way, aren't we still on Anaximander's quest? Are we still looking for the Apiron? It's a pretty powerful thing to think about. Thanks for joining me for this one.
If a question made you stop and think, take one more second. Philosophy doesn't give easy answers, it teaches you how to ask better questions. Like the video if you enjoy thinking. Follow Philosophy LM and keep searching together.